Clemson's offense is firing on all cylinders this spring. Cade Klubnik's growing, Tyler Brown's rising, and Garrett Riley is hitting stride as a signal caller. We'll talk about that and much more right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas, Clemson grad, 105.5 The Roar, producer and host, your host here on Locked On Clemson, your daily Clemson fix for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, follow me over on X at The Morgan T Show for all of my Clemson antics and takes in between episodes. And I appreciate you so much for tuning in yet again for another daily show. Today, we'll talk about Cade Klubnik and his transformation into a true general on the field. We'll talk about Garrett Riley and his offense hitting its peak form now in his third year or heading into his third year. And then finally, injuries have been testing Clemson's depth, but they have been passing that test. Clemson's offense is ready for Cade Klubnik to hit his final stride. And I believe that Clemson's offense is now on the same page. They're smarter, they're deeper, and they're ready to dominate. Cade Klubnik right now, you're hearing a lot of good things about him in spring practice. Tyler Brown, how much have we missed hearing his beautiful name in spring practice? Now we're hearing more about the wide receiver. And Tristan Smith, the brand new transfer portal wide receiver. They are stealing the spring spotlight. And why does it matter? Well, because spring is showing us that Clemson and reminding us that Clemson has the firepower to get back to the ACC championship game, to win the majority of the games, to win 10 games or more, to crash the playoff party yet again. And we are showing what we can do early on in the season. That's what I love about this team so far. We knew that Clemson was going to be returning a lot of experience, but it's great to see and to hear that they're kind of clicking on all cylinders right now early on in the 2025 year calendar, because they have a long way to go. You have the rest of spring, you have the summer, then the fall camp, and this team is going to gel and be even better by the time we get to football season. It's not going to be kind of a mix match patchwork. These guys are working together and they're getting on the same page along with the coaching staff. First up, Cade Klubnik. He's in command. You saw how he was able to take it to the next level last season. And now they're saying that he's hit his stride again in spring. He kind of picked up right where he left off. Garrett Riley mentioned to the media that the game is slowing down for him. His decision-making is becoming more crisp. And that's really important for Cade, because frantic Cade is not what you want. Young, frantic Cade was like, we talked about him being like the golden retriever. You know, he's cute and cuddly, and you got him because he'll be a great companion, but he does eat the rug and eat the couch and pee on the rug kind of thing. We don't want that kind of Cade Klubnik. We don't want him panicking. We don't want him scrambling around with no sense of direction. We want him to be calm. What they always used to tell me in the military is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. No rush decisions, no frantic decisions, no haphazard movements, and it's going to make him crisp. It's going to make him smoother. And it's going to make the whole team around him perform even better. When the game slows down for you, that's when you know you've hit your final level. If you go into like The Rock being the final boss at WWE, could be Cade Klubnik's final boss moment in 2025. Dabo Swinney came out also and said that Cade went 5 for 7 in their last scrimmage, had a 20-yard absolute laser to Tyler Brown, which you want to see those two guys get back on the same page. You know, we missed that connection in 2025 because of Tyler Brown's injury. And I think that was a key area where they could be even more lethal in their passing game. I mean, think about this team if they're entirely healthy. Is it not one of the best offenses in the country if this team is fully healthy? I think it is. And part of that being fully healthy is Tyler Brown being back on the field. Now, it's up to Garrett Riley on how he wants to put everybody together, because for the first time in many years, we can actually say that Clemson has more athletes, more stars than they do positions available on the field. How long have we not been able to say that? I think it's been quite some time. It's been a long time removed since those national championship caliber teams where you had pretty much a high draft pick in every single position, at least in the first and second string. Now they're getting back to that through recruiting, through transfer portal, and through just better coaching staff and just getting them in the right position at the right time and working together. Tyler Brown is running much better. He's hitting the drills great. He's changing direction. He's got the poise. Cade Klubnik's also showing the same thing, because you need Cade to be not just a passer. We talked about this earlier this week. He's also got to contribute in the running game, especially considering there's a big question mark in the running back room right now. We assume it's going to be Adam Randall. I've already prepped you on that. And then it could transition eventually into Gideon Davidson. Maybe it'll stay a running back by committee if things don't work out. But I will say Cade Klubnik is going to be a poised runner for this team, and he has to be. He has to be a confident runner, just like Trevor Lawrence was. He has to be able to know when to look downfield, stay in the pocket, and have that pocket presence, but also know when to make a calculated run. You know, not just scrambling with the chicken with your head cut off and not knowing what you're doing. I think he's really progressively stepped away from what we saw originally with him, and it comes with maturity, and it's great to see. This is going to help him win big games in the ACC, possibly against a Louisville, a Florida State that's a completely revamped, Miami. Who knows? SMU again. They're going to face them in the regular season. You know, this is going to be a scenario where Clemson's going to have to go back through, I think, a little bit more of a difficult schedule this season. You've got LSU, you've got South Carolina. Cade Klubnik, it's his time to shine. This is his final season. And I think it's really important for him to show the nation just how far he's come along. I think it'll be great. It'll be a kind of a cap on his whole career here at Clemson in a positive direction. That's what I'm betting on. Also hearing a lot of great news about Christopher Vezina, or CV. You might hear Dabo Swinney call him that. He's rising up through the ranks, and he's going to be a guy who they brought in to kind of take over the reins from Cade Klubnik once he moves on. It's really kind of been up and down for him. When you see him in spring, he seems to be a few seconds behind the football pace. As what we talked about with Cade Klubnik, seeing the game slow down for him, I thought the opposite of Christopher Vezina. He has a lot of the tools there to be a great quarterback at the college level, but if the game is going too fast for him, it's never going to work out. I heard he threw a 15-yard touchdown in a 2-minute drill, and he has arm strength, and he does have that pocket presence. As long as he can figure out how to slow the game down for himself, and maybe, just maybe, Cade Klubnik and him are working together to figure things out too. Coaches have been bragging on his footwork as well, and that's really one of those things that I thought Cade also needed to work on as well. This matters to me because you can say, oh, they're just kind of hyping up Christopher Vezina. I don't care, because it matters to me, because you need a quarterback number 2. You need a backup. You have to have one of those guys. You can't just ignore. You can't just say Cade Klubnik's going to do everything and be a runner and be a passer and not get injured. It could happen, and you got to have somebody that you can trust, that's ready and reliable. If injuries hit, which they could, because hey, it's a man game, it's a physical game, it could happen. So the fact that we're hearing some good things about the backup, I'm not taking that, it's just coach speak. I'm taking that as really important for this team. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Tyler Brown being back, they're saying he's like wide receiver 1 material. He's the guy that Dabo Swinney has been most proud of. He's high pointing balls. He's going across the middle. He's making contested catches against 2 and 3 defensive backs. In a scrimmage, he had 4 receptions for 62 yards this weekend. And that's something that I think fans are going to be really big about, because it matters, because you miss that, and there's a lot of other talent out there, but it's never a bad thing when you have too much talent. You might not be able to get everybody the ball every single game that you want to, but it's a great thing when you can rotate in and out, keep people with some fresh legs, and it keeps that defense, as I mentioned with Adam Randall, keeps the defense on their toes, keeps them on their heels rather, and keeps them guessing and not knowing what's going to happen. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about how Garrett Riley and his offense is building an offensive machine that is clicking. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on eating out. And now I budget smarter, I save more, and I can manage my money with my wife. It is smoother than ever. We have no more arguments. Our personal accounts are linked. Our goals are set, and we're on the same page. And you know, for a marriage, when you're financially on the same page, that cuts out a lot of the stress. Trust me, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Garrett Riley's building an offensive machine, and he said it is humming right now. Year number 3 could completely unlock the vision for Garrett Riley and what we assumed or what we wanted to see for the Clemson Tigers under his tutelage and his offensive playbook. He said that in their recent scrimmage, they hit 40 points. Yes, you heard me right, 40 points. Now, we don't know who they were going up against, but I'm assuming that they are playing against some of the best that Clemson's defense has to offer and Tom Allen has to offer. Year 3, they're not just surviving, they're thriving. And why does it matter? It matters because you need an elite offense to be able to get to the postseason, to be able to win double-digit games, and also to be able to hopefully get to a national championship. This, now, we always used to say back in the day, defense wins championships, right? But that's not always the case. You need to have a high-powered offense in today's college football. And when Clemson's system and Garrett Riley's system is clicking and they're running smooth, that means that you're going to get 30, 40 plus games day in, week in, week out against ACC rivals and even against out of conference opponents in the SEC. And if you're scoring in the high 30s and 40s, you are one of the best offenses in the country. And that's what we want. That's what we expect from a Clemson offense. Now, we haven't been able to see it for the past couple of years. You know, there's been times where Clemson seemed to be not even finding any way to even get to 17 points. But right now, what we're hearing from spring practice is that the fundamentals that they've been building, this roster that they've been building up, and the offensive play calling staff and the support staff and the position coaches are finally working together to build an offense to be one of the biggest threats in the country. Now, Garrett Riley, he tries to keep things simple, simple yet complicated, I guess you could say. But what he says is it's all about repetitions, rinse and repeat, and get the main things, and make your key plays, your bread and butter plays, almost too easy to be able to execute, where you're not making mistakes on the ones that like the back of your hand. And that kind of reminds me of when I was in the military. They used to tell me, when the bullets start flying, you fall back on what you were trained, right? You fall back on your training. And when you go to training, what do? You do the same freaking thing over and over and over and over. No matter if you've been in 20 years or a brand new recruit, you do it over and over and over, rinse and repeat. And that's what Garrett Riley's fundamentals are all about. And I love that about him. I do the same thing when I'm coaching softball at 10U softball for my daughter. Hey, it doesn't hurt to take 1,000 more ground balls, because you're going to get a lot of those, and you need to be able to execute the easy outs. You're only going to get so many outs in a game. Execute the easy outs and get those easy ones that the teams give you. Get those ground balls and things like that. Same thing for football as well. Execute the plays that you know how to run, that you know are going to be building blocks to the even more explosive plays. Garrett Riley came out and mentioned that the first 30 minutes of practice, he saw great footwork, great timing from his quarterback. He felt like the quarterbacks and wide receivers were on the same page. That's how you execute and you beat teams like LSU, South Carolina, Florida State, and many others. You have to out-execute them. Have we been able to say that every single year for Clemson? No, really, we haven't. We kind of fallen apart from that, fallen away from that. But I do believe that Clemson has the staff in place and the players in place to get them right back to what we're used to from Clemson football in a Dabo Swinney era of Clemson football. Year 3 is with the continuity that this staff has had, with the roster retention that Dabo Swinney is able to bring in, with the addition of some of the recruits and some of the portal players that at key positions that you need, the core players that are used to each other. Now that they are in one final push with the end of their career, usually for most of these guys, I feel like this is going to mean fewer mistakes, fewer misreads, and maybe just even faster play calling. Maybe you're going to get more plays in a game. Maybe you're going to get more snaps. I think that Clemson's going to be able to run motion better and flip the offensive lineup. I think they're going to be able to rotate guys a little bit better. They're going to be able to fool the defense much more consistently, because when you are able to do things and without even thinking, that's when the defense really is confused. You don't even have to look to the sideline to know what was called, because you've done it 1,000 times. That's going to improve Clemson exponentially. Garrett Riley says he's not just teaching now, it's about refining. And they're going to continue to do that through the end of the spring, into the summer, and starting with the fall practices as well. Timing, why does it mean so much about timing? To me, that's where you stay on schedule and you march down the field. When you march down the field, not only do you gain confidence, but you start to take away momentum and you start to demoralize the defense when you just keep making everything, when even the little things or the intermediate things are successful, and then the big things are successful. Timing is everything on defense and on offense. And if they're clicking, it could win not just grind out games, but it could help them win shootouts as well, and maybe even win by big margins for a lot of these games. It's all about execution under stress. Garrett Riley is evaluating how the players are handling chaos, how they're handling the 2-minute drill. He said that a lot of what he saw from the 2-minute drill he loved, and Cade Klubnik was able to go and lead a drive for 70 yards in 1 minute and 20 seconds, no timeouts, with a touchdown to who other than Tristan Smith. So fans are able to see early on that they're going to use this transfer portal wide receiver, not just a guy who's going to fill in a spot, but a guy that Clemson desperately needs to be able to take themselves to the next level. The personnel finally, in my opinion, from what we're hearing, matches the playbook that they want to run. You've got big wide receivers. You've got electric slot wide receivers. You got big outside wide receivers. You got electric slot wide receivers. You got a mobile quarterback. You got versatile tight ends. And Tyler Brown's coming back into the mix. You've got Adam Randall that could be a real big mismatch of linebackers. This type of versatility is going to not just crack elite defenses, but really stress them out. And Cade Klubnik also mentioned to us that he feels like there's a lot of leaders on this team, and with a locker room that trusts each other and that has multiple leaders out there, that's going to help them, again, get to November, get to December, and maybe even to January. Pretty awesome to see. A lot of great returns here in spring. And you could tell me more, well, it's just a spring. Don't get too hype about it. No, I'm going to get hyped about it because I want more football. But I'm also going to tell you that it's serious. Now, there's some coach speak in there for sure. But when you see what these guys are able to do, if they're able to get on the same page now here in March, what do you think they're going to be able to do in September, in August and September? It's going to be really good, and it's going to pay dividends in the future. So they're building up towards the season, and I think we've got some good returns so far. All right, I'm going to finish out the show talking about Clemson's depth and how it is under pressure, but how Clemson is passing that test. We're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro-4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the entire team. Plus, the gear and wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro-4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro-4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro-4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Injuries can test you, and they can really cripple you as well if you let them fester, if you don't have any backups, if you don't have any depth. What we're hearing in early returns in spring is that the Tigers are dealing with some depth issues because of injuries. But maybe, just maybe, these injuries are a blessing in disguise for some of these positions, because the young Tigers that are out there into the limelight are passing with flying colors so far. Clemson is proving that they have better depth than we've seen in the past couple of years, and it could be at an elite level because of the recruiting and what they've done in the transfer portal. Why does this matter? Because the depth means that we're built to survive the grind of a 12-game season, and not just a 12-game season, but into the playoffs, into the ACC championship game, and on. So the offensive line is first up, and what we heard about with a lot of the injuries. Minor issues are keeping a lot of the players out. Walker Parks with a hurt shoulder, Thurman with that ankle. You got a hamstring injuries. You got Colin Sadler still resting, but who is stepping up? Some of the young guys. Braden Jacobs, 6'5", 305. Easton Ware, 6'6", 290. They are holding the line. Jacobs pancaked a defensive tackle in pass protection and earned Dabo's praise and post-practice media press conference. The offensive line could be one of the deep offensive lines we've had in recent memory. And I know that we've talked about this in the past and it's kind of burned me, but I'm going to let it burn me again because, if I'm wrong, so be it. But let's look at the roster that we have. Well, you have Walker Parks as a graduate. You know that he's going to probably be your right guard, but he's been, in and out dealing with some injuries. You got Ryan Linthicum. He's going to be your center. He's also kind of been rotated in and out. Ian Reed could go in there at the center position. Tristan Lee has been in on the scooter with his leg up. He's been rehabbing and he hasn't been in there. Blake Miller, also a guy, he's going to be your right tackle. Colin Sadler, as we mentioned, he's kind of been in and out. He's going to probably fill in that left guard role. Harris Sewell's been in. Elijah Thurman is also coming back from his injury. Ronan O'Connell has jumped in pretty quick. Watson Young, Mason Wade, Brandon Jacobs, the true freshman, Easton Ware, and Rowan Byrne are big names that we've heard about going into this, throughout this spring of guys that are stepping up. And if you read about like their height and their weight, their measurables, what they did in high school, it's really about just how quickly can they pick up on the college speed. The same thing with the quarterbacks that we mentioned earlier. Offensive linemen have to deal with the same thing, but also how can they pick up the playbook quickly? I think that's one thing that a lot of players struggle early on in their high school career is just how long it takes them to pick up what the coaching staff wants to run. Now, when you look at a Power 5 offensive line, you want them around 6'5" or above. 280. Well, you definitely have that in these guys in these new, even though they're young, they need to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage. Now, you've seen that in high school that they've probably been able to put defensive linemen on their back, but we're seeing some success of putting some of these college guys on their back as well. If you can move the line of scrimmage by 2 to 3 yards, I mean, that is a huge help to not just your passing game, but to your running game as well. Opens up many other opportunities for Garrett Riley to call plays that maybe he wasn't able to call in the previous seasons, and also rotate guys in and keep guys fresh throughout not just a whole game, but also through the entire season. These guys need to figure out how to play with correct pad level, get their balance right at this level of college football, and avoid getting pancaked themselves by the defensive line, which will be difficult because Clemson's defensive line, I think, is one of the better ones in the country. They need to be just natural. I think these guys that they've brought in have all of those attributes, but they're going to have to build on that and get their experience up to where it needs to be. It matters because a deep offensive line can protect Cade Klubnik, can open up the passing game and the running game and the play calling for Garrett Riley, but also help the running backs that maybe are trying to just find a way to get their name called, find a way to get them some success as well, since they don't have a lot of snaps. Second up, Matt Luke is really drilling them like an absolute pro. You know that he knows how to hold people accountable. He knows the ins and outs of the offensive line. What better hire has Dabo Swinney ever made? I'm going to ask you that. Is it probably Brent Venables? Could it be Chad Morris? What better hire has Dabo Swinney made in his entire career than Matt Luke? I mean, he is in there teaching these guys in the trenches, on the fly, keeping the tempo, but also coaching through tempo as well. I mean, I'm hearing these plays are going lightning fast. We heard that they did a bunch of 2-minute drills this weekend, and Matt Luke is still in there on every single play, coaching these guys up. He said that he's rotating about 10 guys right now in and out, and he feels like that he's very confident with a lot of different combinations that are out there. The offense is able to be successful because of what they're doing at the offensive line and the line of scrimmage there. And it's all goes back to Matt Luke. And I would probably say that by the end of Dabo Swinney's career, Matt Luke will probably be one of the best hires, if not the best hire, that Dabo Swinney has ever made. Now, I'm going to shift some gears here because we've been talking a ton about the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to finish up the show, give you a little bit of wet the beak, if you will. My old boss used to tell me that in sales. And wet the beak for you of the defense. The secondary is starting to kind of, settle in a little bit. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the secondary being a big question mark, a big concern, maybe even a bigger concern than the running back position. Hard to say, right? But Ricardo Jones picked off Christopher Vizina in one of his 2-minute drills and returned it for 25 yards. Avion, Terrell, Corin Gibson, Miles Oliver, they all broke up a ton of passes, and they're starting to play tighter coverage than they were a couple of weeks ago. And it matters a lot because Clemson has got to shore up the places where they're the weakest. We know that they're the weakest at running back on the offensive side of the ball, and we know that they're the weakest on the defensive side of the ball at secondary. And the secondary can help stop huge plays from happening when it comes down to playing teams and offenses that are powerful. And Clemson is going to have to deal with that at some point in the season. Not every team is going to stress them out, But there are going to be a handful of teams on this schedule that will definitely stress out their secondary. And Clemson needs to get it worked out now. And I think, again, they're working on that. And it seems to be some good signs so far. On the defensive front, the line of scrimmage is holding their own as well. Dabo Swinney is just drooling over Amari Adams on the defensive line, saying that they are absolutely destructive. He also had a really good conversation about Wade Woodaz and how he's responding to Ben Boulware's coaching. And I think they even said that Boulware came out and said that Woodaz had 8 total tackles in the scrimmage. And depth at linebacker position, playing with a little bit of a fire, playing a little bit faster, also tackling, fundamentally tackling better. I think there will be all things that Ben Boulware knows how to teach, because he was taught all those things from Brent Venables, but also Ben Boulware doesn't have to do it all alone, because he's got Tom Allen there to supplement as well and to lead the way. So depth is key, not only for the linebacker position, but also for the secondary position. And as we mentioned, we've got a ton of depth on the offensive line that seems to be getting their reps in now, which is extremely important. And at wide receiver, getting some guys healthy, adding to the depth as well. I think one thing we could take a note from this weekend is at the scrimmage is depth is there. And if it's not there, it's getting built for sure. Spring game is coming up. We know we're going to be looking forward to that. I think it's April 5th. So hopefully I'll get to see you out there if you go see it. I'm excited to go and watch the spring game. I always like to see the young guys and see how they do. And probably take my daughter. It'll be kind of fun if it's not too hot. Sometimes she doesn't like it when it's too hot. But I'm looking forward to the spring game. Hey, let me know what you think about the news from spring practice, from the scrimmage this weekend. I really appreciate you being a part of the show. And don't forget to follow me over on X in between shows so we can talk all things Clemson. And thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. March is here, so be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, Tiger fans, I'll see you Friday, and I'll see you at the top of the hill.